Well, the college baseball transfer portal officially closed yesterday, and all eyes were on Mississippi State's Ace Reese. So the question stands, did he enter the portal or commit to coming back to Starkville? The answer is now clear.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first to listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Jaron Spor, national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a packed show for you today. Some baseball, but also mainly some recruiting news. We got to talk about a new baseball commit. Another pitcher adding to the rotation, so we'll talk about how big that is and if he's going to stay out of the MLB draft and actually show up in Starkville. Also, TJ White, unfortunately, made his decision. If you saw our reaction video earlier yesterday, right when it happened, you know he picked the Tennessee Volunteers. What does that mean for Mississippi State, and where do they go from here? We'll talk about that. But the biggest news was star third baseman Ace Reese. So after Brian O'Connor was named head coach, all eyes turned to Ace Reese. Is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? Remember, he's an All-American, and they needed him to stay. Well, it was announced he was staying, and so we were like, cool, we're in the clear. Well, of course, the portal ends, July 1st, so it ended yesterday. All these rumors were circling right around that day. I started really a week before that. Yeah, Ace Reese might be entering the portal. There's some teams throwing some bags at him to get him into the portal. Well, it was announced by D1 Baseball's Kendall Rogers that contrary to what has been rumored over the last week or so, Ace Reese tells him he will not enter the portal and stay put with Hail State. Another major recruiting win, even though it's your own player, but that's what it is. It's another major recruiting win for Brian O'Connor.
Yeah, that's beyond massive. I mean, we talked about how good this lineup could be. If he left, I mean, you're removing the best bat in this lineup and changes the trajectory of the first season, maybe first two seasons, because who knows, what happens if he does leave. But, I mean, you have a guy in the middle of your lineup that last year, 21 home runs, 352 batting average, and an OPS over 1,000. I mean, that's insane. So having him come back and just what he meant to the fans in a year that just, it ended on a pretty good note, but at times was just bad. And he was one of the bright spots all season, just out there consistently. So getting him back is both big for on the field, what he's going to do, and then the little bit of the continuity and then just the morale, keeping it up. Because if you lose him, it's going to kill all momentum and excitement that's been built over the last couple of weeks.
Well, and we just talked about them many times. We've talked about they're a super regional team, maybe even a World Series team. I saw just the other day they're projected to be in the College World Series field. So that would have all came crumbling down if Ace Reese leaves. Now, I'm not saying, again, I've said this, pitching is the most important thing when it comes to postseason play. So I'm not going to act like losing Ace Reese now drops you to a non-tournament team. That's not what I'm saying. But you lose him, you lose the potential of making the World Series. I don't think you have a chance to make the World Series unless some pitcher comes out of nowhere and is just dominant, or a couple of them are. So that would have been obviously a massive loss. So this is the thing about the new era, and a lot of coaches talk about this. You have to recruit high school kids. You have to recruit transfer portal kids. You have to recruit your own players a lot of times, because they're getting pulled all the way. And I don't, there's so many rumors out there about the different schools that were pulling at him. The main one out there was LSU, obviously, fresh off a national championship. So I'm sure if they were coming after him, that would have been very enticing, seeing that they just won the national championship. And they've been one of the most dominant baseball programs over the last, decade, maybe longer than that.
History, yeah.
I mean, they've got an incredible history. So I'm sure that was hard to turn down if that was the school. Now, I don't know if it was or not, but to say the least, keeping him is major, like you mentioned, not just for the continuity purposes, but it's major for Brian O'Connor, because you need to make a great first impression. And I'm not saying they need to come out there and win the national championship. That'd be great. We would love that if he did. Don't worry. We would accept that. But he has to come out and have a strong year and show that firing Lemonis and hiring O'Connor was the right move, because you can't take a step back, because I don't know if you agree with me on this. this is a more talented roster than last year's roster.
Oh, that's not even a question. I mean,
Right.
it's by far more talented. When you add guys who, we're talking about some guys who may come, may not come. I mean, even Aiden Teal in a recent top 100
Right.
is rated like 96. So, I mean, I guess there's a small chance he could even go in the MLB draft.
Right.
I would expect him to come back, but you never know. And then you have the Parker brothers, both of them in the top 70, JoJo's top 10. Jack Bauer, top 75, depending on who you look at. So, I mean, he's done a great job bringing talent that may or may not come here. And that's not even counting the Valencius brothers, all these other guys who are just going to just improve the lineup, both the pitching staff improved and then the lineup around Ace Reese, to where you're not like trying to manufacture runs around and then you're relying on Ace Reese and a couple other guys right in the middle of the lineup. This is a deep lineup now. And this still would have been a very good team if you remove Ace.
Right.
There's still a lot of talent, but when you lose, when an offense loses its like linchpin, focal point, big bat in the middle, it changes the complexion of a lineup so much that even if you have someone who is 75% as good, it's just a completely different team. And it's so weird how that works with baseball because it's such a team game. It's an individual sport disguised as a team game.
Right.
You remove that one guy and it just changes everything for a lineup. So bringing him back just anchors the lineup, gives you something to build your lineup around and something for, protection for behind him now with all these guys.
Yeah, and he was good as a freshman, but he took a big leap last year to being an All-American, and you expect another leap. So that's another reason why you have to keep him.
If he leaps again, we're talking about like one of the greatest seasons in college baseball.
I think he could. I think he could work his way into top 10, top 20 type talks in the draft next year, depending on the kind of season he has, obviously. And so that's why that's another reason why you need him, because you expect him to at least take some kind of step, maybe not a leap, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch because he's an All-American, but he should take at least a step forward and become an even more complete and better baseball player this upcoming season. And then you expect better coaching around him, and that should help as well. It's just, you never know until, this is why, we talked about, should we talk about the last day of the portal, earlier this week before the last day was on Tuesday. And we were kind of like, well, let's just wait and see until it closes. And the reason why was this exactly, because we could talk about it and say, yeah, it looks like it's over. And the next thing you know, boom, Ace Reese enters the portal. And you're like, oh crap, like we got to talk about this all over again. You just never know in this era. And so that's why we wanted to wait and have this podcast today, a day after, because now we know for sure he is staying. And the rumors weren't true. So obviously it's great momentum for the season, and now you hope you can put things together, and now the pressure's on to have a good season though.
Yeah, pressure's on. We can all kind of breathe a sigh of relief, and really seems like the dust is settled. We'll talk about it more in the next segment. We got another arm added to the mix, but this looks like the team we're going to be going into practice with and into the season with. So I like what it looks like. Glad we're there, but now the pressure's on because the talent level is so high. The transfer class is so good. The incoming freshmen are so good. A lot of pressure on this team.
Yeah, and I do want to put this out. 64 Analytics tweeted it just a little bit ago. Their updated transfer portal rankings. Mississippi State still number one on top of the transfer portal rankings. So obviously a great offseason so far. Now, like you said, the honeymoon won't last much longer if you have a tough season. So you got to get through the season and have a really good year. I already saw some people in the comments for Ace Reese staying like, congrats, you're going to go 12-18 in SEC play again. So you got to prove those people wrong. So you have to have a good year. So we'll see what ends up happening. But all right, baseball team also got a new commit on the diamond, but could he be headed to the MLB draft? So should fans get excited? Should they not? We'll break that down. That's coming up next.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And one surprising thing I noticed when I started tracking my spending with Monarch was just how much I pay for monthly subscriptions, whether it's streaming, the monthly food delivery services that just make things cheap when you order it, or what all the other subscriptions I have. And I'm sure so many of you have. You don't realize how much you're spending until someone lays it out for you. I've noticed it. I've been able to cut back and save some money thanks to Monarch. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so baseball also got a new commitment on top of hearing that Ace Reese was coming back. That is Rice Owls ace Davion Hickson. Hickson had a record-wise not a great season, but Rice wasn't very good. So he went 2-7. He had a 3.82 ERA, was named second team All AAC. He threw 73 innings, gave up 59 hits, 31 earned runs, 35 walks, but struck out 90 batters and held teams to a batting average of 220. So really good season. He is projected to be, let's see, they have him rated, Perfect Game has him rated as the 210th best prospect in the country for the MLB draft. That's July 13th, by the way, for those kind of keeping track. That's about 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's a big arm. The big thing to me, like I mentioned before, you look at strikeouts per innings, 90 strikeouts and 73 innings. That means you got some stuff. That means you can really pitch. Now, I don't expect him to go very high in the draft. I would expect him to be here. I mean, obviously, when you have stuff like that, someone can surprise, pick someone a little bit earlier, offer you an above slot bonus, and you end up signing. But I really would expect him to be in Starkville next year. And the weird thing about him is he was a reliever up until this year, and
went straight to being an ace.
Yeah, and when we were just doing, just kind of talking about him a little bit right before we started recording, I didn't even realize he started, honestly, because I was looking at his innings pitched, and he only pitched 18 1/3 innings more as a starter than he did as a reliever, which was a little weird. So I didn't really I didn't put together. I was like, oh, he just, they used him more in relief, but he's got big time stuff. And once you dig into him a little bit more, it's like, wow, this guy really could be a weekend starter. I mean, he could be that number. He could compete to be the ace or
2 or 3 or
number 2s. Yeah.
Really good reliever or
I mean, he could be one of the best pitchers on this team, honestly.
Yeah, and his fastball touched 97 miles per hour. His changeup had a swing and miss rate over 50%. And his slider might arguably be his best pitch. So those are all really good things to see. Now, obviously, with him being the 210th ranked prospect, part of that is probably playing at Rice. They weren't very good this year. Another part of it is also he's not going to be as consistent. But that's why you come to Mississippi State. One, show at a bigger program that maybe some of the issues I was having was because I was at Rice.
Yeah.
But I always like you said, I like to look at strikeouts per inning, and his is amazing. I also like to look at the batting average. And I know, again, some of that is if your team's not very good, maybe they get some hits when a really good shortstop makes the play, whatever the case may be, or a really good second baseman makes the play, whatever. Or he's a little faster or whatever the case may be. So I like to look at that. And so 220 is pretty solid for a pitcher. Again, if you look at his record, not the best. You look at his ERA, especially against that competition, you're going to not like it. But again, we don't know. Some of that could also be, man, if that shortstop was a tick faster, he gets to that play and makes it, and then it's not a run allowed. You never know what all went into it. But regardless, it's another proven arm, another really good arm to the bullpen, and they're going to have a lot of guys that are about the same level. And we got to see some of them take the step to become the ace, become the starters, really, especially the ace position. But after that, you got a lot of really pretty good arms, and that makes you feel really good going into the season because you have a lot of pitchers you can throw out there. And so if you have a bullpen type game like they had this last postseason, you're not burning through your whole bullpen to go through it.
No, you're not. And I looked up where he would rank on MLB.com and their draft rankings. They don't even have him inside the top 250. So And a lot of people who get really into MLB draft kind of mock MLB for their prospect rankings sometimes, but they usually know who's going to be picked. I mean, they might be a little off, but they'll be in the ballpark. So again, I expect him to be here. But yeah, he's a guy that, I mean, like I said, I don't know if he's going to end up being an ace, a number 2, the number 3, or the fireman out of the bullpen, to where when someone gets in trouble, you bring him in and he gives you 3-4 innings out of the bullpen to get to the closer.
Right.
I mean, when you have someone of that talent that has both been an effective reliever and an effective starter, I mean, the ace for, I mean, not a very good team, but still an ace.
Yeah.
Gives you so many options. Really, the only downside with him is he's wild.
Right.
I mean, 15 hit batters and a wild pitch last year on top of 35 walks. I mean, that's what, 51 guys he put on base or, walked, and just, I mean, that's just not a good thing. So that's part of what makes me think he's a reliever long-term, is typically when you see guys who are hard throwers, high strikeout rates, and also wild, they tend to kind of fit into that closer role a little bit better. But I mean, that's not to say he can't clean up his mechanics or whatever is causing that wildness just a little bit and turn into an ace. So
yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, worst case, he's still a really good, worst case, he's just a really good reliever, Otherwise, he's going to be either a ace possibly for you, or he's a starting pitcher for you, which you need all those. So, because you need someone to step up and be the ace, or you need another starter in your lineup, or you need some really good guys in your bullpen. And he's going to be a guy that contributes, and I bet money he's going to be one of your key pitchers this year, whether it's, again, as a reliever or as the ace, somewhere in between, he's going to be there. And you can say that about a lot of the guys. You can say that about Valencius. You can say that about Evan. You can say that about Ben Davis. The list goes on and on. All the arms that we've added in the portal, you can say that about just about all of them. And so, adding another arm to the bullpen is never a bad thing. It's kind of like in football, adding another offensive lineman or a defensive lineman is never a bad thing. Especially one that has experience and a guy that is, projected to be drafted. That just tells you all you need to know right there. And he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, because coming in at the 210th ranked prospect, knowing he's got a lot of good things and probably thinking he's getting slighted because of the school he played at, he's going to want to come out and have this great season at Mississippi State in the SEC, because he knows if he does, he might be in top 100 talks at that point, possibly.
Yeah, if he comes out and dominates, like he could with this raw stuff that we see the flashes of, he 100% could be in that mix. And you can never have enough arms. I mean, the pitcher injury epidemic has been running wild across all levels of baseball for the last 15 years. You got to have arms. People are going to get hurt, whether it's full season, miss a start here or there. The more capable arms with experience you have, the better. And this is a big one to add.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, coming up next, we got to talk about TJ White. He picked the Volunteers in his recruitment. What does that mean for Mississippi State? Where do they go from here? Is it an epic failure, like some people are calling it? We'll talk about that and more coming up next. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, 4-star linebacker from Jackson Academy in Jackson, Mississippi, TJ White announced his commitment on Tuesday, along with teammate Davion Albert, who is a defensive lineman, 6'1", 305 pounds, big guy, also from Jackson Academy. There's also another teammate, and I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, but he picked North Carolina. Amari Robinson, maybe? I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Amari is right. I don't remember the last name.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. But regardless, he chose North Carolina. Davion Albert visited Mississippi State. Mississippi State wasn't in his final two. It was Tennessee, North Carolina on those two. And then TJ White, obviously Mississippi State was a finalist in his recruitment. And according to On3, was the second most picked team. Now, it was only a very small percentage, but they were the second most picked team. Ultimately, TJ White chose the Volunteers along with Davion Albert.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but, we kind of expected this.
Right.
And for the people who are calling this an epic failure, man, like, what do you think is going to – I mean, not saying you can't recruit at that level, but, I mean, you're going up against a team that was in the college football playoff and will drop bags at people's doors. I mean, we'll throw money around in the NIL, and has built a reputation of having a very good defense over the last few years, churning out NFL draft picks just in the college football playoff. You never want to lose recruiting battles, but losing to that team and coming in second, it's not an epic failure when you're coming off a 2-win season.
Yeah, and I saw someone. I keep seeing people another L for the staff. And guys, I get it. Like you lost out on a big time prospect who's also from Mississippi, and that sucks. But you got to realize you went 2-10 last year, and you just went toe to toe with a team that has better NIL than you and better on field results than you, not just as a team but as a defense, which is where he's going to play. And the linebackers were really good for Tennessee last year, and so you're going to lose those at this point in the rebuild process. You're not going to win those battles unless you just have a kid that grew up, wants to be at Mississippi State, diehard fan, and just boom goes. You're not going to win those, but you need to be in the battles. And that says a lot about the staff, because eventually you get the results on the field along with the pitch that you're giving. Now you start to land those guys. And I'm not saying results on the field like they need to go 10-2 and be in the playoff like Tennessee was last year, and they need to be one of the best defenses in college football. But they were like 123rd in total defense. Can they jump up to 70s or 60s? Yeah. Can they be a top 100? 70s or 60s. Can they win 4 or 5 games and start turning things around? Like, that's the things that have to happen. Again, it stinks that you lose out on a guy, but if you actually expected it to go your way, you're kind of living in la-la land, really.
Yeah, a little bit delusional, honestly. If you thought, again, if you're in the mix with where the state of the program is right now, that means if things turn around, you win the battle. If you're in it that deep, you're winning those in 2-3 years. If things continue on a trajectory that we believe it is, with the type of pieces they are bringing in, with how things seem to be progressing, you're going to win those. And if not, it's coin flip. It's no longer like a 70-30, it's then a coin flip. So it sucks, and I don't know where they go. Like I mentioned before, looking at their offer list, there's not many guys that they have offered at the linebacker position who are not already committed, and those that they have offered aren't really interested at this point.
Right.
So they're probably going to be looking at a 3-star somewhere that they haven't offered, that they've looked at, they've scouted. That's kind of their fallback plan. And I would expect us to hear that name probably in the coming week. No idea who that might be, but that's kind of where I expect things to go.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. We know Darrell Rivers is one as a defensive lineman that might take Davion Albert. Again, they weren't a finalist for Davion Albert, so I'm not acting like Rivers is like going to be the replacement there. But he's announced his college decision on Saturday. And again, between Tennessee, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, and Rutgers. So we'll see what ends up happening there. As far as linebacker, it's hard to figure out. Like you mentioned, where they're going to go from there. I haven't seen a whole lot of names thrown out as a potential at linebacker. So it's just kind of wait and see what happens. They were pretty much all in on TJ White, which again, linebackers one, depending on your roster, you might only sign one in a class. It's not a position that you take 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 or 6 like you would on the offensive line or defensive line. So we'll see what ends up happening there and where they go from here. But you're in the battle. And again, that's obviously you want to close them, but you have to start being in the battle before you can start closing the battle. So we'll see what happens. But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over on Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. Also, hit the like, subscribe, and click the notification bell every time when you're on YouTube, because we definitely appreciate all the interaction, all the follows that we can get. We also have a goal. We're just now putting this out there. We have a goal. Since we took over the channel 3 months ago, I think we were around 50 or 60 subscribers on YouTube.
Under 100.
Yeah, it was under 100. We've gotten it up to 569. We would like to get it to 1,000 by football season. So if you can help us out and get us to 1,000 by football season, which we obviously know in August, or at least mid-football season, would be great. So tell your friends about us. We love the support. So thank you all for the support and the everydayers that we've had so far. Thank you so much. But yeah, keep telling your friends about us. Also, we post a comment every day on our video. We pin it at the top. We love your interaction on that. We interacted with people on yesterday's podcast. We also post a poll, and the polls are actually going to change here in a little bit. We're going to be doing some images with the polls, and so that will be fun. But I got to go through yesterday's. It said, how important is it for Mississippi State to recruit in-state talent like TJ White and Iverson McCoy? 82% said extremely important for team success. 12% said important but not critical. So definitely something that a lot of people thought was definitely something you got to do. And you really do. That's the best thing for a coach when you start out recruiting and you start out a new school. Hammer the in-state talent, get those under your belt, and then you can start branching out, but really focus on that. But all right, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.